Hello, I'm Aubrey Shepherd. It's the 3rd of June 2013. Let's see some pictures from Fayetteville, Arkansas. Okay, that's it. Nettleship and Nettleship Street and Eastern Avenue. Remember, in Fayetteville, avenues run north-south, streets all run east-west. See that whack on the side of that tree? Well, I got a call this morning about this strip being ripped up through the woods there. And one person had done some research on it and discovered, well, there was no permit to do any earth moving on that site, and it hasn't been scheduled for any kind of a project, specific project, but apparently some people are interested in buying it and building something on this large wooded tract. I say large. It's large to be an infill site. It's on a hillside, and it starts low there. If you walk up through there, you see all this mud. And of course, that means, that's part of where the water comes from. It runs down through the town branch in my neighborhood. Trees are just whacked down with bulldozer, and debris left on the ground, and things are crushed. And big pieces of rock underground have been moved around, and it's just a very ugly place. This is a smooth wild petunia as opposed to a hairy wild petunia. Hairy wild's usually out on the prairie. This is more a woodland plant or a woodland edge plant, and this was in the deep dark woods until they cleared this big, well, it's as wide as the street I live on. It's wide enough to build a trail or even a two-lane street through there. And the only excuse the guy who'd checked up on this, who called me about it, could find was that, well, these guys told one of the landowners he wanted to get through on his property so they could do research on the adjacent property. So we're not sure whose actual property it is. It doesn't belong, clearly, it's not belong to the people who did this work, because they showed no respect for nature. There's a rose growing down there. I'm sure that's a domesticated species or an old domesticated species. But anyway, some of those growing around the area up along the streets and in that area. So probably something that was planted. It got wild down in there. But there are a few wildflowers in bloom out there. Woodland wildflowers bloom early, and a lot of them are past bloom already. Well, you can just see how muddy and mucky this has become, because they dug down through the black dirt, spread it around, of course, but they also got to the yellow underbelly there, the clay. The dark soil on top is what absorbs the water. That clay will sort of absorb water, but mostly it just washes away downstream, and that's why these streams all the way to Beaver Lake are running yellow, because people do this sort of thing. It's wider than it looks, and I accidentally shot this on lower definition than I intended to, and not what I normally do, so it has certain characteristics, like a little too much bright light. I didn't bother to check on what I was doing there, and I was walking a long way. I mean, this is a tiny sample of the photos in there, and doesn't show all the hideous places, but several streams come together just below there, and all these little streams run across this road from uphill, which is Markham Hill, and there's a lot of water passes there, and you can see all these low places. That's where water comes from, mostly looking from right to left in these photos, although some of them are shot the opposite direction. Mostly I was walking west. Sometimes I shot backwards there. But this is one of the flow areas where it's going off in this picture to your left. And it is just a mucky mess, and stormwater violations, streamside protection violations, tree canopy protection violations, probably hillside ordinance violations, just 19 ways to figure out that this is just going to make a little hot spot in our city. And when it is approved for some kind of construction, they'll probably take out all the trees anyway. But most of the ones, or half the ones they've already knocked down, would qualify as protected size trees in Fayetteville. Till next time, please do your part to help keep the water clean, the air pure, and the woods green. See you. Aubrey Shepherd on the 6th of July, 2013. And what are we looking at? Well, we are looking at purple milkweed. It's the Asclepius purpurascens, and that's a big milkweed bug on it, and they destroy the blooms, but worse, they destroy the foliage and compete with the monarch caterpillars rather powerfully. So get those bugs off get all those little orange and black bugs, 2 or 3 species, bugs and beetles, both categories in that color on your milkweed plants. Clean them off gently. Don't spray. Gosh, don't spray. You'll kill the monarch caterpillars and their eggs that you can't even see. So just rinse them off. Grab them with your fingers. Wear little plastic gloves if you like. But protect these milkweed plants from those bugs, and you'll have more monarch caterpillars hatch into monarchs. And if the foliage lasts till fall, then they'll be hatching off there all the way into October, 1st of November, even later in the last couple of years. Anyway, that's purple milkweed. It's one of those with opposed leaves, and it's opposed to the alternating leaves on the stem that you see with several species. So I made a lot of pictures for this show today, and there's one I shouldn't have bothered to put in, but I love the food at Tony Cacciare's. That's their booth in front of the Walmart that went on. Well, I hope it's still on today. Good food. Anyhow, Ducks Unlimited, I hadn't seen one of these up close, one of the newer state license plates. That's the sensitive briar. Those just started blooming in Fayetteville, and I thought we better toss these in, and then we'll probably see different species of milkweed. Sensitive briar is, you'll be sensitive to it if you grab the foliage, because it's in the mimosa family, but it's a native U.S., practically all over the eastern half of the United States. This is Asclepius amplexicaulis, and this one is likely to be found on the higher, drier areas, and it's really different from the other 2 species that we've got in this set. And you can see how those are shaped. It's still 5 little parts out there and 5 bracts behind those. And on some of these pictures, you'll see how the bract, the green part that's around the flower, is laid back. You can see it in some of the shots there. So that's the foliage of the Asclepius amplexicaulis, and it's called blunt leaf milkweed because the leaves are attached at the same place on both sides, and almost like one leaf. And it's also known as curly leaf. Sometimes the leaves are curled. So these are another plant. These are plants that are also very valuable to the monarch caterpillar that must eat foliage of milkweed. And there are several other species in town, but these are some of the unusual ones. You don't see them growing in everybody's yard or in everybody's pasture, unless those pastures have never been plowed and and they've been protected from spraying and summer mowing, then they may be coming up. They may be just bundled up in the hay before long. Curly leaf, you can see why that Asclepias amplexicaulis is called curly leaf there with these examples. And I put too many in on this bunch, so I really love these. And these were photos made this morning, the 6th of June. And that, of course, is Asclepias viridis. You can see the similarity and the differences between these and the other two species we've looked at. Well, till next time, Aubrey Shepherd asks you to do your part to help keep water clean, air pure, and the woods green. See ya.